What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. First of all, I'd like to point out that this is a tragedy I am speaking of, and I don't want anybody to take it lightly because a young man lost his life due to living a YOLO lifestyle. And I did get a few emails. I haven't watched anyone else's video, so my opinion is not a rebuttal or a retort to anybody else, nor am I in agreement with anybody else, knowingly or unknowingly. Here's the thing. The title of this article in the Mirror News in the UK is Obsessed Bodybuilder Killed by Cocktail of Steroids, Ignored Warnings Despite 2 Heart Attacks and 3 Strokes at age of 20. He refused to stop working out and taking supplements. A fitness fanatic obsessed with bodybuilding ignored warnings to stop working out, was killed by a cocktail of steroids and bulking up supplements. An inquest was heard. Now, keep in mind the UK banned Tribulus and other supplements, and yet still steroids are legal for possession and personal use, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm fine with all of it being legal because, well, I'm a libertarian and I believe it's your personal right and responsibility to use drugs however you want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. It's all about personal responsibility and personal choice. I'm about freedom of choice, choosing what you want to do. I love this one. Just a month before his death, he wrote on his own Facebook site, some guy in the gym, saying he's had a chest infection, so he hasn't changed for a year. I'm like, I've had heart attacks, strokes, heart failure, and only 3 months off, like a boss. After working out, okay, he collapsed running for a taxi. I'm just going through this, trying to give you the main points. He stopped taking anabolic steroids after this, but the irreversible damage to his heart had already been done. He responded well to physiotherapy, but returned to working out at the gyms 3 or 4 times a week. I don't know how that's an issue. I don't know what doctors are recommending against physical activity. Usually after a heart attack, you want to get your cardiovascular. I don't know what he was doing training, how he was training, but that's ridiculous in and of itself. Seemed to be in denial about a serious heart condition and its consequences, insisted on continuing to take bulking up supplements. You British are funny in how you pronounce things, man. He had this weakness. He was driven to alter his body image. And here's the thing. It's a wake-up call, but he was not willing to listen. If you did not listen, okay, basically they're trying to bring to our attention that steroids can kill. I have a few opinions on this. From my lay opinion on medical influence, I personally don't believe that unless you have a pre-existing condition, although the steroids over time can enlarge all muscles, including the heart, although athletes have enlarged hearts from being in shape. Remember, the heart, although it's a cardiac muscle, is a muscle nonetheless. The better shape you're in, the bigger heart you're going to be in. So if you look at an athlete, if they're at the elite level, they're going to have larger hearts. Bodybuilding, being that we exert, then we rest, we're basically doing HIIT cardio when we train. Same enzymes are activated, so I'd assume the same cardiovascular benefits are obtained. We're going to have larger hearts regardless if we're natural or not natural. And I've yet to see a study on the size of hearts. It'd be a great study in enhanced versus natural athletes. That would be a great study. I'm not even sure how you would do that study. But nonetheless, I love bulking up supplements, and I love how he's told to stop training. Now, I'm kind of conflicted in how to approach this topic because on one end, I'm saying that he had to have had a pre-existing condition, okay? How many dozens and dozens and hundreds and thousands and whatever people in the UK, America, Australia are taking steroids even at this young age? Tons of them. Yet we have 1 death, yet I've known how many, I should have looked this up, how many cases of death a year are there from peanuts or from aspirin or from other just benign substances, shellfish. There's always going to be some issues. There's always going to be somebody who adversely reacts to any substance, to any supplement, to anything. And of course, he adversely reacted to steroids. I'm guessing that the congenital heart failure, whatever it is, something genetic played a role in this. It wasn't just a normal, healthy young man. He had issues. Also only 5'2". Maybe there was some issue with his growth. I don't know, but let's look at it this way. I'm going to go on the other side of the coin now. Generally speaking, a 16 to 17-year-old will not know if they have a heart defect or disease. That's something that generally will present later in life sometimes. So, I mean, that's one reason to wait. If you already have a pre-existing condition, obviously if you have a tumor, don't start taking GH, right? So if you had a pre-existing heart condition, I'm not going to recommend high doses of anabolic steroids. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Second, you know what? Here's the thing, man. This YOLO lifestyle a lot of kids are living now with just the dosing and the dosing and the dosing. I mean, look, we can make it illegal. They're like, oh, it's so easy to get things in the. I was reading some comments on, I forgot where it was, on something else. So easy to get steroids in the UK, and if it was illegal, dude, it's illegal in the US. And I know of 16, 17-year-olds who are getting it. Look, government regulation isn't going to help the problem of drug use. Marijuana is legal now because they couldn't fucking control it. It's a benign substance. I'm not going against marijuana at all, but I'm just saying that they cannot, you can still get shit if you want it, okay? It's going to just open up a black market with crime. It's going to strengthen the gangs, and it's not really a good thing, okay? So I'm saying that we should make steroids legal in the United States, and it should stay legal for possession in the United Kingdom. That's my opinion. I don't think that legalization or illegalizing it is going to be anything, but we need to do something like alcohol. Alcohol is legal, and how many people does alcohol kill a year? How many instances of liver failure come from alcohol? Yet it's legal. We need to do something with these drugs that we do with alcohol. We need to educate young children that it's not okay. But if you're a consenting adult who can make decisions, then you can obviously use it as an individual. That should be our God-given rights, correct? Am I wrong? I'm probably wrong. A lot of you liberals are getting mad, I know. Even though you liberals love marijuana, liberals love weed. Honestly, don't think that legalization is the issue here. I think that what happens is young people should not be using steroids. And that's not the government to say anything. And that's just my opinion. There's a lot of people with different opinions, but obviously majority rules in a democracy, a republic, whatever. So, my whole thing is, okay, we have this issue. We have this kid who died. And I think blaming it on steroids is incorrect. I think we need to look at the root of the problem and see that he was overdoing things and he wouldn't heed to advice. Whether the advice was right or wrong, he wasn't listening to his parents, and his parents are blaming everybody else. Where did he get the values to do this? And why didn't they? He was living under their roof. Why didn't they step in and say, hey, stop taking steroids? Where was their role in this whole thing? It just seems like now they failed as parents, that they're trying to come out and vilify steroids, which is fine. When your child dies, I can't imagine what you're going through, and you want to reach for something to blame, and I empathize with that. I really do. But at the end of the day, I really think, you know what? The take home of this is, kids, you're not, as this article quotes, invincible and limitless. You can't just start dosing steroids and have no ramifications. There's going to be something that comes about it, whether it's endocrinological, whether it's whatever. You got to deal with those. You got to know your consequences. You got to know your benefits and weigh them out in a Ben Franklin chart, pros versus cons. And then you'll know whether to do it. I personally think that, I hope a lot of kids open their eyes and say maybe that if I'm under 18 years old or 21 years old, maybe I should wait before deciding if I'm going to take that plunge. You know how many people email me a day regretful of starting a steroid cycle or of doing steroids multiple times a day? Literally probably a dozen times a day I get that email and I answer it. And I said, well, there's nothing really you can do. I'll give them the best advice I can in the situation. But at the end of the day, I think we just need to open our mind and use this as a chance to look and say, okay, here's where I'm taking this. Here's what I'm doing. And here's the next decision I'm going to make. Do I think this kid died straight from steroids? If he had a congenital defect and his heart was already injured, absolutely, it's possible. It is. It could have contributed to his death. Was it the cause of his death? No. Was it a contributing factor? Possibly. Another thing is, kids, before you start whatever it is, before you think it's a good idea to snort cocaine, before you think it's a good idea to smoke a doobie, before you think it's a good idea to do steroids, I think you really need to think rationally what this is going to do for your short and your long term of your life. And other than that, this is a tragedy. It's nothing to be made light of. I know his picture in here on this article, if you click on the link in my description below, is funny because he seems like he was a YOLO jokester, and that's fine. They're funny as hell. But at the end of the day, guys, it's a sad situation. And I just hate how this media, the Mirror, portrayed bulking up supplements in the same line as steroids. And I hate how they vilified steroids. They didn't actually go and present the other side of the story. The thing about media is they want to be objective, and there's nothing objective about this story. It's a lynch piece for steroids. And the thing is, they should have pointed to the fact, they should have interviewed a doctor who could have pointed out that there could have been a congenital defect. But obviously, this kid's name was Oli Cooney. But obviously, whoever wrote this, where's the author's name? They don't even put their name on this piece of garbage. But whoever wrote this obviously didn't do their job. Ross Perry, I think, didn't do their job as a reporter to get both sides of the story. There are two sides of the story. I would like to see what the autopsy says, whether he had a congenital defect before passing judgment. I'm Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. You know what? In things like this, I don't even close out with it's not a game because this is a sad story. Have a great day, guys.